When it comes to the weight of our nation, Australia is in a complete crisis. Many of us at some stage in our life have struggled with our weight. The problem is that there are 1,000 voices out there claiming to have the quickest, the easiest, and the most successful weight loss methods. It can be very overwhelming to sort through all this information. I'm going to provide you today with some strategies that are natural, safe, and effective at getting a healthier version of yourself. Obesity is occurring for two major reasons. The first is that there is a decline in physical activity. We are all living much more sedentary lives. Our jobs and work tend to be sedentary. We have changing modes of transportation and urbanisation that are contributing factors. And only 100 years ago, our ancestors, both in the children and in the adults, were using somewhere between 3 to 5 times more energy than we are now. Secondly, there is an increase in the intake of energy-dense foods, highly processed sugars, and foods that are high in animal fats and proteins. Our modern foods have become fast, easy to obtain, and with our busy lives, we often resort to all these unhealthy processed options that are already prepared for us. We can define obesity and overweight in two ways. We have the body mass index, which is your weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. If your BMI is between 18.5 and 25, you are in the healthy range. 25 to 30 is considered overweight, and over 30 is obese. There are limitations to this as it does not distinguish between fat and muscle mass. It is therefore not useful in a number of ethnic groups, some athletes, and those with physical disabilities, for example. Waist circumference is often a better measure to use. It measures your visceral fat, which is the dangerous type of fat that builds up around your internal organs in the abdomen and puts you at much greater health risks than if you have fat on the thighs or hips. To measure the waist, it is halfway between your lowest rib and the top of your hip bone, which is roughly where your belly button sits. You then breathe out normally. You don't suck in your breath, and then you measure. The tape measure should not be squeezing your skin. In women, you need to be less than 80 centimetres, and in men, less than 93 centimetres to reduce your risk of a number of chronic diseases. We used to think that fat was just a place where we stored excess energy. However, the fat that builds up around the abdomen and chest is far more dangerous than the fat in the arms or the legs. The fat in the abdomen and the chest builds up around the organs and secretes a lot of toxic inflammatory chemicals and hormones. These cause a variety of problems such as decreasing your body's sensitivity to insulin, stimulating uncontrolled growth of some cells which can lead to cancer, interfering with the body fluid balance, promoting atherosclerosis, disrupting the electrical activity in the heart and causing arrhythmias, and overall promotes inflammation all over the body that can lead to a whole host of other diseases. The good news is that we can lose this visceral fat and significantly reduce our risks of all these diseases. We will look at how we can do this very soon. This is a scan showing the reduction that can occur. The yellow is just normal subcutaneous fat and the red is the toxic visceral fat. There are many chronic diseases that are influenced by obesity. People who are overweight and obese are up to 2.5 times more likely to develop heart disease than those who are normal weight. Being overweight more than doubles your risk of a stroke. Nearly 80% of high blood pressure in men and 65% in women is attributable to being overweight or obese. Obesity is a leading risk factor in the development of diabetes, with obese people up to 80 times more likely to develop type 2 diabetes compared to thin people. Being overweight or obese increases your risk of a variety of cancers, including bowel, breast, esophageal, stomach, gallbladder, kidney, liver, pancreas, thyroid, ovarian, and uterine cancer. One of the most significant things that obesity affects is the musculoskeletal system. It is the primary driver behind the development of osteoarthritis and deterioration of the joints. Obesity is associated with the development of fatty liver disease, which can cause inflammation and even liver cirrhosis. Gallstone formation, particularly stones made up of cholesterol, is associated with weight gain. When you are overweight or obese, the kidneys also have to work a lot harder, which can damage the kidneys in the long term and heighten your risk of developing chronic kidney disease. Obstructive sleep apnea is most commonly found in the overweight and obese. Obesity has also been shown to increase the risk of developing depression. All of these risks can most definitely be mitigated with a healthy lifestyle, and we are now going to look at how we can achieve this through a healthy weight management program. The first thing we need to do is manage the mindset. With the right mindset, you'll get the right results. The best place to start is to address it from the highest level, your spirituality. We need to place the right value on the gift of life and the body that we've been given to live in. So here is a couple of Bible verses that you can read and ponder as you start the journey to healthy weight management. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 19 and 20. Do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own? For you were bought at a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. Not only do you belong to God by creation, but you were paid for by the life of Jesus, so we have double the value. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. Therefore, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all to the glory of God. Every choice you make for your health, ask yourself, is this the best thing for my health? Is this what God would want me to put in or do to my body? Before we discuss some more ways to manage our mindset, let's talk about the pleasure trap. I'm going to share the story of a rather macabre creature, the black widow spider, and the very strange dance that occurs between the male and the female of this species. The large spider is the female and the smaller one is the male. To keep the species going, the male is lured towards the female due to the pleasure-seeking sexual instinct. Now this is where it gets very interesting if you watch a video on what happens in this little dance. The male is also scared of the female because of her much larger proportions. So he vacillates between approaching her because he's attracted to her and running away in fear to escape from her. There is a real war between attraction and fear. It's a war between pleasure seeking and pain avoidance. Eventually, for the male, the pleasure will win out and they will mate. If only the story ended there, but unfortunately, as the male tries to escape, the female seizes the opportunity to conserve energy, and before he can escape, he becomes her dinner. The Black Widow spider tells a tale of three major motivational forces that occurs with all living creatures, including human beings: seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and conserving energy. The three forces of motivation have been described by Drs. Lills and Goldhammer in the US, and they've written some interesting material regarding this and how this really impacts on our dietary behaviours. This is the work of those two doctors. Phase 1. If you are eating whole, natural, unprocessed foods with low calorie density, you will have a normal pleasure response to the food you eat. In phase 2, you may start eating supranormal stimuli foods like chocolate, chips, pizza, burgers, and ice cream, and the calorie density fires the pleasure centers in your brain to create an enhanced pleasure response. Just remember, another motivational force is also energy conservation. Heating up just a single slice of pre-made cheese pizza of about 100 to 120 grams expends almost no energy and provides about 300 calories. But if you had to prepare the equivalent weight of green salad, not only does it take time and energy, it would only provide 20 calories or less. In phase 3, after eating supranormal stimuli regularly, the pleasure centers adapt downward such that the high calorie density foods lead to normal pleasure response. In phase 4, if you then go back to whole natural foods at this point, the dramatically reduced calorie density will lead to a subnormal pleasure response. Think of trying to eat salad after fried foods or chocolate. In phase 5, if you stay with the whole natural foods for a short period of time, this can be over a few weeks to a small number of months, the pleasure response will recalibrate such that these low calorie density foods fire the normal pleasure response receptors again. This really shows how our appetites can really trap us in a vicious cycle. I would like to add that it is not just the calorie density that may be overstimulating our pleasure centers, but also a plethora of food additives as well. There are chemical companies all over the world whose only object is to produce addictive chemicals to add to our foods to improve the profits for the processed food companies. So the next principle in managing the mindset is don't get caught in this pleasure trap. Feed your nutritional needs and not your appetite. When you are making choices each day, work out if this is something that is good for you or you are just feeding your cravings. Closely linked to this is the next concept. Make the changes for your overall health rather than just a focus on weight loss alone. Think of weight management as a journey for the rest of your life. You're going to change your lifestyle for good and not just a diet for a few weeks or several months. Anything real, anything worthwhile in this life takes effort and time. There is no safe or effective quick fix to life's challenges, and that includes your health and your weight. Set yourself realistic and achievable goals and don't worry about others or even societal expectations. If you set the bar too high, you will give up very quickly. And finally, focus on the successful changes that you are going to achieve each day and not on any past failures that you've had in your journey. Once you have your mind wrapped around making healthier choices, then the rest becomes easier. The next step is to find the right diet amongst all the different options that are out there. One that not only helps you to achieve a healthy weight, but also leads to long-term positive health outcomes. This diet is also not about counting calories, but rather one that burns the most calories or energy. And there is only one diet that fits this bill. It's the whole food, plant-based diet. A diet rich in fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and grains in their natural form or as close as possible. This diet completely changes the way your body uses up calories or the energy you are consuming. No other diet can achieve this. It increases the proportion of dietary calories expended either as body heat or through voluntary physical activity. Thus, less storage of energy as body fat. There is an overall increase in fat degradation and a loss of body fat with this lifestyle choice. You form more of the highly specialized brown adipose tissue that greatly enhances your metabolism, stops you from putting energy into fat stores, and instead uses it to produce body heat. You don't even need to count calories when you're on this diet. And of course, it has all the amazing life-giving properties of fiber, antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals, reducing risk of, and in some cases reversing diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, cancers, and the like. Now, there are certain plant foods that can really enhance the weight loss. Your leafy greens, such as kale and rocket, these are high in fat-blocking agents called thylakoids. These thylakoids slow down the absorption of fat and allow for really strong signals to be sent to your brain to tell you that you are full, which in turn suppresses your appetite. Apples, pears, and berries are also standout categories as foods associated with the most weight loss. Legumes, such as lentils and beans, all of these are really helpful in suppressing the appetite and reducing daily intake of calories. Head to head in the research, legumes are more effective than whole grains in decreasing weight and waistlines, and just as effective as cutting calories. Flaxseed has been used in a number of trials looking for a variety of benefits, and it has been shown to significantly reduce body weight, BMI, and waist circumference. It has to be in the form of whole or ground flaxseed and not as an extract or the oil to get the benefits. There is one thing that has been really huge in the last few decades, and that is the low-carb, high-protein diets. But we need to avoid these completely, and I'll explain why in a minute. There are so many of these types of diets out there, but some of the common ones are the Atkins, New Atkins or Modified Atkins, keto or ketogenic diets and any variations on these, paleo, protein power diets, Enter the Zone diets, South Beach, Sugar Buster diets, Stillman diet and Whole30, just for example. Essentially, if there's any diet that restricts carbohydrates but encourages protein or fat above the 10% of total intake, then you can add this to the list. There are good reasons why you need to avoid these types of diets. The often rapid weight loss seen with these diets comes at a large, disastrous cost to your health. In the short term, when compared to those who are on the traditional low-fat diets, they had more bowel effects such as constipation or diarrhea, headaches, muscle cramps, bad breath, generalized weakness, and rashes. These diets inherently promote the eating of predominantly animal-based foods at the expense of plant-based foods. Therefore, there is a net loss of all the health-giving complex carbohydrates, fiber, many vitamins and minerals, and a whole host of antioxidants, all of which are so important in reducing the risk of many chronic diseases such as heart disease, stroke, diabetes, dementia, and cancer, just to name a few. Even though you may experience the weight loss with this diet, you are going to increase your risk of these chronic diseases. These diets are very high in saturated fats and cholesterol, which in turn promotes cardiovascular disease such as strokes and heart attacks. It is also high in animal protein, which contributes to higher cholesterol and increases the risk of a whole variety of cancers. The weight loss on these types of diets are consistently shown to not be sustained. A summary of 17 studies with more than 270,000 subjects showed a 31% increase in total deaths when compared to just the standard but unhealthy American Western diet, which already has a high mortality rate associated with it. Fasting is one way you can help with weight loss, but not the kind that is prolonged, as long fasts need strict medical supervision. Fasting is also not an option for children, pregnant or breastfeeding women, insulin-dependent diabetics, and some others with chronic disease. What we are talking about here is an overnight fast. It's about confining your daily meals to a restricted window of time. The research shows that just by sticking to a 6-hour window period ending at about 3 p.m. each day was helpful for not only significant weight loss, but there was also a reduction in oxidative stress and insulin resistance, and the average drop in blood pressure was equivalent to using the most potent blood pressure medications. If you don't have a really active lifestyle, a 2-meal-a-day plan in that 6-hour window is more than sufficient to get all you need. If you find it really difficult to achieve that long overnight fast, then at least stop eating by about 6 or 7 p.m. The sizes of your meals throughout the day do make a difference when it comes to weight management. Have your main meal in the morning and only eat a small last meal. Eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. Of all your meals, put the effort into your breakfast. It will kickstart your metabolism and provide energy for the day's activities when you need it the most. Calories that you eat in the morning cause less weight gain than the same number of calories that you eat in the evening. As the evening progresses, your metabolism continues to drop. Thus, avoid having your major meal in the evening. When you adopt this type of meal sizing, you will be more alert and productive. It will reduce the drive to snack and seek the wrong foods throughout the day. And it means you don't go to bed with a full stomach that can interfere with your sleep. Eat slowly. Your meal should take a minimum of 20 minutes, as this is the time it takes for your brain to tell you when you've had enough and that you are feeling full, and it reduces the number of calories that we take in. You can slow down your meal in a number of ways. You can do this by increasing the number of chews and chewing more thoroughly, decreasing your bite size, and including bulkier, harder, and chewier foods in your meal. Don't snack between meals, just drink water. Research has shown that the more frequently a person eats, the more they tend to gain weight. Limiting the number of meals also improves physical endurance. Snacking increases your risk of bowel cancer, and you increase the number of calories you burn off when you eat them in fewer meals. It seems to be better for your metabolism. Now, whenever I have a conversation about weight loss, this topic comes up. Apple cider vinegar. It does cause significant weight loss of that visceral fat with slimmer waistlines whilst you are using it, but it returns when you stop unless you have other measures in place. It works by enhancing the activation of a special enzyme called AMPK. This enzyme is responsible for switching our bodies from the fat storing mode to the fat burning mode. Apple cider vinegar can ramp up the activity of AMPK threefold. How much is recommended for the purpose of weight loss? 2 tablespoons with each meal. Just a couple of side notes, however. Don't ever drink it straight. Always mix it with your food. If you are prone to allergies, it may stir up those. You can get the same effect on the AMPK with exercise, so this may be a better option for you. Drinking water is vital in your healthy lifestyle and weight loss plan. If you ignore your thirst mechanism, your body will resort to hunger signals in an attempt to get your attention and give it some fluids. So thirst is often misperceived as hunger. Drinking plenty of water will prevent those abnormal hunger signals. Water has no calories itself, but it has been shown to increase the number of calories that your body burns at rest. Well-hydrated bodies shift towards burning fats and decreasing the breakdown of protein. There have been a few studies that show even just drinking 1 to 1.5 litres per day resulted in significant reduction in weight, body mass index, waist circumference, and body fat in as little as 3 weeks in overweight individuals. Drinking 2 cups of water can boost your metabolism by 25% within the next hour. So a good way to help burn those extra calories would be to have 2 cups of water on an empty stomach about half an hour before each meal. For the remainder of your water intake, try not to drink with your meals, only between meals, as this can impede digestion somewhat. And you need at least 30 mils per kilogram at rest and then 40 mils per kilogram when you're active, limiting to about 10 cups for women, about 12 to 14 cups for men. Take all alcohol out of your diet. It provides no nutritional benefit. And gram for gram, it has almost double the calories of sugar. It hinders your body from burning fat. It causes greater hunger sensations and reduces the feeling of being full. It also leads to poorer food choices. The next aspect we need to address is movement. Most of us live sedentary lives, so we need to make sure that we include exercise in our goals for healthy weight. Bear in mind, exercise is nowhere near as effective as dietary changes for weight loss, but the benefits for exercise go beyond weight management. First of all, increase the spontaneous activity in your day-to-day lives. This is the non-exercise activity that we accrue each day. The research shows that we can burn off 5 times more calories from the non-exercise activities per day than formal exercise. What are some ways we can do this? Get up and stretch and walk around more often. Stand instead of sit when you can. In some workplaces, they do have standing desks now. Do more housework. Cook and prepare your meals. Do more gardening. Take stairs instead of the escalator. Park your car further away from your workplace or shopping centre. Sing and laugh. and dare I say fidget when no one is watching so you don't annoy everyone around you. When it comes to formal exercise, some types are more helpful. Aerobic exercise, the kind that makes you huff and puff, is fantastic at burning calories and reducing the bad types of fat in the body. Brisk walking and cycling are great examples. And try to get between 3 to 5 hours per week of this exercise if you're trying to lose weight. Resistance type exercise, such as lifting and using weights or resistance bands, the type that builds muscle mass, is also important. The more muscle mass you have, the higher your metabolism, and this will help you burn more calories around the clock, even at rest. Muscle is always more metabolically active than fat and requires more energy, so building muscle is really helpful. This exercise also helps prevent the drop in metabolism that can occur when you are losing weight. Try to include some of these exercises at least twice each week. Overall, research has shown that exercise tends to reduce your appetite as well. It is important to exercise on a daily basis to maintain both the habit and the metabolic benefits. But what about the timing? More fat is burned on an empty stomach, so it's best to exercise before a meal. In a study where they tested the fat-burning capacity of exercise before breakfast and after lunch, they found that you burn 90% more fat from the before breakfast exercise. A similar finding was also found in a study that looked at before breakfast and post-dinner exercise. Before breakfast was far superior in its fat-burning capacity. Sleep definitely has a role to play when it comes to managing your weight. One analysis of 20 studies, including 300,000 people, found a 41% increased obesity risk among adults who slept fewer than 7 hours per night. So to get the benefits, you need at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night. If you get a good night's sleep, you will have higher daytime levels of leptin, a hormone that makes you feel full, and lower levels of the ghrelin, a hormone that makes you feel hungry. Research has shown that reducing the hours of sleep in men and women down to 4 hours led to these individuals seeking out and consuming about 1,200 kilojoules more each day on top of their usual intake. And this was not generally healthy foods. There is consequently a twofold increased risk of becoming obese. Poor sleep has also been shown to adversely affect your self-control and decision-making abilities, and it also increases your brain's reward center's reaction to your food. Therefore, you are more likely to make poor food choices and increase the intake of foods high in energy, fats, and processed sugar. If you are going to bed at a reasonable hour, between 9 and 10 p.m. at the latest, you are going to avoid one of the worst habits for causing weight gain: late night snacking. Eating late at night when our metabolism has dropped significantly is associated with greater weight gain, higher BMI, and decreased fat burning, making weight loss a whole lot more difficult. Who would have thought that even sunlight can play a role in burning fat? There are subcutaneous fat cells, or white fat cells, that can be found right beneath our skin. It is a major fat deposit in humans and plays a significant role in your metabolism. It is a bad kind of fat because it stores calories that should be burned for energy and is a contributor to obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. A study done in a diabetes institute in Canada has found that when the sun's blue light wavelengths, the light that we can see with our eye, penetrate our skin and reach the fat cells just beneath, lipid droplets reduce in size and are released out of the cell. In other words, our cells don't store as much fat. Weight loss is rarely an easy journey, and it often occurs in stages with plateaus in between. Sometimes it may even start with a plateau. This is all normal as your body starts to try and conserve some energy as it sees you starting to lose weight. But there are some things you might like to try In the short term, that can help to get you off the plateau. For a short period, you might like to increase your time exercising and even change up the types of exercises that you've been doing. In particular, include more resistance training to boost the metabolism. If you have a sedentary lifestyle, try the 2-meal-a-day plan with about 18 hours of fasting overnight for a couple of weeks. Reassess your diet and water intake and make sure there is nothing that can be adjusted. And then if all is in order, you can try raw plant-based foods for a couple of weeks. But most of all, be patient and remain focused. This too will pass. There are some helpful herbs that you can use on your journey with weight loss. Garlic, either raw, a few cloves daily, or powdered, half a teaspoon daily, can help drop the weight and waistline. For those who can tolerate the heat, adding cayenne pepper to your meal can significantly boost your metabolism. My only caution to this research tale is that you have to use about half a teaspoon in your meals to see the benefit. Ginger root is another way you can boost your metabolism by about 10% in comparison to placebo. Dried ginger is more effective than fresh, and you only need about half a teaspoon's worth every day. This is probably more tolerable than the same amount of cayenne for most people. Peppermint may also be helpful. In animal studies, it has been shown to boost metabolism, regulate body weight, and prevent obesity. Although not tested for this use in humans, it certainly wouldn't be harmful to try this as a regular tea. Include a couple of cups of hibiscus tea every day. Not only is it as effective as some blood pressure medications, it also has the bonus of inducing weight loss in terms of both the waistline and body fat. The research does show that it can boost your metabolism and lock up the fat digesting enzyme in your gut. Having contrast showers stimulates the production of the special brown adipose tissue that burns a lot more energy and leads to a boost in the metabolism. This will lead to a more efficient weight loss. So how can you implement this at home? 5 minutes hot, 1 minute cold. 3 minutes hot, 1 minute cold. 3 minutes hot, 1 minute cold. Making the water as hot as you can tolerate, but not burning yourself, and on the coldest setting for the cold portion. Try to do this at least 2 to 3 times per week. This is not advisable if you are particularly frail or have any heart rhythm or high blood pressure issues. So here is my weight management prescription. Remember that your body is a temple and a gift from God, so value it as God does. This is a lifestyle change and not just a temporary diet, so eat for your health. Keep your goals realistic. If it's taken you years to get where you are, allow your body time to adjust and restore. Embrace a whole food plant-based diet with lots of those weight loss boosting foods, your apples and pears, berries, leafy greens, legumes, and a spoonful of ground flaxseed each day. Of course, avoiding as much of those processed foods, fast foods, and added fats, and no alcohol. Plan your meals and have your most hearty meal in the morning and the smallest meal at night. If you lead a sedentary life, then a 2-meal-a-day plan with your last meal before 3 p.m. is helpful. Eat slowly, with no snacking between meals. Drink at least 2 to 2.5 litres of water per day, and this is between your meals. Exercise at least 3 hours per week of the aerobic huff and puff exercise, and try to get the exercise in before breakfast for the purpose of weight management. Include a couple of sessions of resistance type exercise as well. Try to get at least 7 hours of good sleep per night. Get a good dose of morning sun each day. Have a hibiscus and ginger tea a couple of times throughout the day. And take a contrast shower to boost your metabolism a few times each week. If you implement as many of these measures as you can into your lifestyle, you will significantly enhance your ability to achieve a healthy weight. Remember, your health choices will change your life, so blessings to you and your health.